Hi everyone, I'm trading the E-mini S&P 500 futures and the E-mini NASDAQ. So at first we're going to go over the ES today. So we have our overnight high up here, our overnight low down here. Just by the way, this is a 2000 tick chart. I'm using a 21 EMA. So and on the NQ I'm using also a 21 EMA, but I'm using a 1000 tick chart. And so we have this uptrend break. Now when an uptrend gets a break, you can expect prices to attempt a new high. That's how trends play out, and then you can expect price to attempt a reversal. Now I started trading at 8 Central Time, which is this area right here, and we just got a break of this uptrend. So uptrend, break, we can expect price to push up to a new high. Now you can see here, we get a little attempt at a new high, but what that is it's just forming a bigger picture two-legged break, and this is just the correction, between the two legs and the break. So you can look at this uptrend, then you have these two legs back, so uptrend, two-legged break, very common, and then after the two-legged break, price pushes up to a new high. So it could have pushed on up from here and made a new high and then just reversed on down. But if it can't immediately push up, a lot of times what it's doing is it's forming a bigger picture break, often in the form of two legs. And so here, this is where we start to push up. After we start pushing up and it's clear that it's attempting a new high on a bigger picture, we can still look to get long to make the new high. Of course, and with the context here, you're right into the overnight high, so there isn't a good area to enter here. And of course, you don't want to just expect it to break out. So even when it's pushing out, you don't want to just buy the breakout. So that's how trend playouts work. But in this case here, where we are on the chart, where the big picture context is at the overnight high, there's just not a good long entry. And so anyway, we push on up here. At this point, the uptrend is considered played out because it has a break and a push to a new high. So we can expect price to attempt a reversal. So this is a great place for a reversal pattern to set up, which is a failed second entry. You want to see it hold below the EMA, hold back below the overnight high. But in this case here, you just don't get a good setup. You have this little downtrend. You get a break, push to a new low, and now you can see from here, technically you do have first entry long, second entry long failure. It just doesn't set up ideally. What you'd like to see is a push down and then two clear legs back, attempting to break back out. That way you can expect a new low for the downtrend. Now sometimes you'll get a failed second entry that if it has really good big picture context, it doesn't matter if the downtrend in the setup already has a break to new low, like in this case here. But the setup itself with the context isn't good enough. I basically just view this as downtrend, break, new low, and then price barely got above the EMA here, and then we don't reconfirm with a good signal bar. It just ends up closing in the middle right here. So I would just like to see something better, something with a clear bearish reaction. It's also starting to get a little bit stacked because when we bounced right there, already a little bit faded inside, and then we bounced there shortly after. We didn't get another good leg or anything. So it's just not an ideal setup, but it does look like it works for one-to-one here. So anyway, we make this double bottom right here, kind of going into this range right here. The EMA is around the middle of it, and so we push on up. Now we have to be careful because the overnight high is right there, and you don't want to enter directly into the overnight high. Now I just want to address this long right here, and there's a reason I don't like this long, and it's not exactly because it's cutting it close with the overnight high. There is enough room there. It's because of this downtrend right here. So again, this uptrend just played out with a break and a new high, and you can expect price to attempt to reverse. Now you can see that there is a couple legs down there, like you have this leg, and then you have this leg, but this channel is very clear. It's way too clear to ignore. You have 1, 2, 3, 4 bounces off of it. When a downtrend gets a break, you can expect prices to attempt a new low. Now, if it's not always going to make a new low, and you can look to get in on a failure at a new low, which would be after the break. You need to see two clear attempts at a new low, and then you can look to get in on the failure. But we just break out here, we get a couple legs up. Now, even though there's a small attempt down there and a small attempt there, that's just not big picture enough. I would like to see two attempts from a new high. So like we push up and get a couple clear legs down, attempting a new low. I just view this as a break from the downtrend and then one small attempt at a new low. It could easily tick higher and make a second leg down. Just given the context, is a downtrend expecting a new low that just came off of the overnight high, and with the overnight levels, you got to play the range rules. When you come off one side, you can expect price to reach the other. So it's just not an ideal trade right there. But I can see why it could confuse some people. Anyway, it takes on off though, so it just rockets off, pushes out of the overnight high. We push out of the high of this swing right there, pushes out, get a couple retests of it. Doesn't even reach the EMA, so it's just not worth taking. We continue on higher, and yeah, basically for the ES, it was just this up here. It was kind of slow all day. The NQ is better, but anyway, we push on up here. We break out of the high of this channel right here. Now, this is an overshoot because we have this wider channel here, and we're breaking out of the high of it. And so since it's an uptrend and we're breaking out the high, that's called an overshoot. Now, overshoots basically just tell you if something is overbought. You know, in the case of an uptrend, overbought. In the case of a downtrend, oversold. You know, I don't use indicators down here. I don't use RSIs and stochastics, whatever. You know, so some people will use that stuff to tell when stuff is overbought and oversold, but really you can just use the price chart. If you have a channel and it's overshooting, that's indicating that it's overbought. Now, oftentimes what will happen after an overshoot is a sharp break, but if it doesn't happen, it's not always going to happen. If it continues to overshoot, then you can just look for a wider channel. And oftentimes after an overshoot, if it keeps rocketing off higher, then this won't apply. But if it overshoots and then kind of just keeps oscillating back and forth, but is staying overshot, then you can look to extend the channel like this. This may or may not end up happening. This is kind of wide, but we'll just see what price ends up doing. And so anyway, we push on up here, and then finally we get a clear two-legged move down. We have all these choppy, not reaching the EMA moves down, just a little bit sideways stuff. And then finally here we get two clear legs. Measured move is met. It pushes past the EMA, which is not ideal, but it ends up holding back above, reacting very well to that measured move, making this higher low right here, and we have great context. So, with this measured move right here, we have these two legs up. Price pushed past it, and we have two attempts to reverse before holding above the EMA. So that's why I like this long right here. So anyway, that's going to do it for the ES on this video. I'm going to hop over to the NQ. So again, I started trading at 8 Central Time, this area right here, looking at both of these charts at the same time. And we have this uptrend, break, and again, I started trading 8 Central Time, this area right here, as we're continuing lower. We have the break of this uptrend. And let me get more detailed. Actually, I was about to gloss over this part. So we have this uptrend, break, and then you can see that it gets very choppy here, but you can still see that there's two attempts at a new high. You have uptrend, break, first attempt higher, and then second attempt higher. Do you see that? And so only after that second attempt higher is when it, the failure at the new high is when it rockets lower. It does look like it barely makes a new high right there. Really, it's just a triple top. It's basically making a just forming resistance right there. But the point is, after the break, you got two clear attempts at a new high, and that is when it had a sharp reversal. Now, I'm going to delete these just to unclutter the chart a bit. When you push lower here, this is a clear failure, a great place for a reversal pattern. If you get a failed second entry holding below the EMA, then that would be a great looking trade. You can absolutely look for that here. It just doesn't set up. We just push on lower here. We get this lower high. It's entering very low into the move, which is not good. We continue lower here, and then we get this push up. Now, this reversal did not reverse all the way. It just kind of pushed down for a bit and then is already pushing higher. So what this reversal was doing is just forming a bigger picture break. So what was originally from this uptrend here, we have a break and two attempts at a new high, and then that caused a reversal. This whole entire reversal is just a bigger picture break for this uptrend. So you have uptrend, break, and then this is your new first attempt at a new high on a bigger picture. Okay, so can you see the difference between this first couple attempts at a new high, the failure ultimately turning into the bigger picture break because it didn't continue on reversing, and now this is the first attempt at a new high on a bigger picture. So anyway, we push on up here. Now you can see there's a couple legs up. As more price action forms, it's just one level at a time. So after this break, you have two legs up. But clearly that's still one leg on a bigger picture, and then you get a two-legged break from that first move up. And it's already made a new high at that point, so this is priced attempting to reverse, but you get another reversal failure, and then you get a second leg up. And so you have uptrend, break, first attempt higher up to here, and then second attempt higher, this leg right here, which on an even bigger picture is just a two-legged move up, measured move. So this is how you spot price action getting bigger picture in real time. At first, you get the break, you get the small attempts, the failure causing the bigger picture break from the trend. The next couple attempts at a new high, the bigger picture attempts, which forms the overall two-legged move. Do you see what I'm saying here? So this is very important to understand. Now, we push on up here. There's no clear longs on the way up, even with this two-legged move down. It doesn't hold above. It's not clear. You know, even when it does start to push above right here, it's just getting sideways and choppy. The bears want to fade, the bulls want to reach the measured move, and price is unable to decide which side of the overnight high it's on. So just stay out of it. We push on up here, we reach that measured move, and then price immediately gets a sharp reversal. So we get this leg down here, break, and then we start a second leg down. So downtrend, break. We have already made a new low at this point, which is not perfect for this trade right here, but we have big picture context that makes it okay, because the uptrend just reversed after a perfect measured move, fading the overnight high. This down measured move is still in play. It's the third bounce off this trend line right here. Sharp reaction, holding below the EMA. I like this trade right here as a failed second entry. So starting from the top, we have first entry long, second entry long, failure. That's why I like this trade right here. So we push on lower here, and now we still haven't met the measured move. It's rare to get back-to-back trades like that, but sometimes it happens. We still didn't reach the measured move right here. Price makes two attempts to reverse, holds on the trend line again. I only liked it after it got below this trend line right here, this green one, you know, just in case, because it was kind of thin with the two moves up. But it holds off the trend line again, back below the EMA. Measured move is still in play. We're continuing this downtrend. I really like this second trade right here as well. So anyway, we push on lower here, push through that measured move. Now, price nearly reaches the overnight low, not quite. And then we get this sharp reversal. We just start pushing on up. Now, it's not surprising that we get this sharp reversal. Again, this measured move was more than met. We nearly reached the overnight low. What I was hoping for was price to just continue on lower and then get like an overshoot and breakout of the overnight low. That way we can just push right back in with a little reversal pattern with room to this upper trend line for a long. Because just because you have a downtrend here doesn't mean you can't take a long in it if it sets up perfectly. If you push out and then get a fade back in from the overnight while also having just overshot the channel, again, like I was explaining earlier, overshoots lead to breaks because overshoots indicate oversold, then you can get a small failed second entry as long as there is room to the trend line, because the trend line can reconfirm. But you know, anyway, that just doesn't happen. I kind of went off there for a bit. So anyway, we push on out here, we get this break. So now this downtrend has a break, and you can expect price to attempt a new low. Now you can see here, you still have, even though it's choppy, you have a couple attempts at a new low right there before reversing. Now, really, on a bigger picture, it's just one leg down and then it goes sideways, but you can still see that initially, on a smaller picture, you have that first attempt down, a little break back up, and then on this red bar, you get that second attempt at a new low, and then that fails and rockets us off with a second leg up. And so we get a couple legs up, retesting the overnight high right here. Good reaction to it. Great place for price to push below the EMA and make a reversal pattern, because even though we went all the way up here, it's still just a two-legged break for this downtrend. So we have this downtrend break. We can expect price to attempt a new low, and especially now that it's coming off of the overnight high, we can expect price to try to reach the overnight low right here. And so that has two things going for us for shorts. And so ideally what we would have got is a push below the EMA, a couple legs back, making a good reversal pattern for a short entry. But it just doesn't happen. As soon as it bounces off that overnight high, moves down to the EMA, immediately bounces back up, and then it just kind of gets choppy. So anyway, then we finally break out. Now again, I don't know if I mentioned this yet, but when you break out of an overnight level or a range level, you want to wait for two clear attempts to fade before buying the breakout. You don't want to just buy breakouts because you're getting bullish bars pushing out the highs. It's very common for price to fade back in. So what you want to see is two attempts to fade. That way you can get in on the fade failure, which is to buy the breakout. And so it just doesn't happen here. We push on up. You know, we get all these little short corrections that don't even reach the EMA. So of course there's nothing to take there. Here we get the second entry, again, not off the EMA, it's still above it, push on up again, and then here we finally, and this is more of a momentum trade just because we're rocketing off like crazy here, we get a second entry long. It's not, the second leg isn't perfect obviously, but it more has to do with this little range right here and staying within it. with the overall momentum, just given how small the trade is. And so we have a second entry long. It's also a higher low. It's holding on the EMA, which is straight up basically. This little uptrend has a break. We can expect price to attempt a new high, and considering it's holding on that second attempt lower with all this bullish momentum, I really like that trade right there. So we push on up here. Now with these highs, of course, at first you have the high off that swing, and then as it overshoots, as long as it's not overshooting like crazy and completely reversing, it stayed within it, I can look to extend it. And then it holds off there again. And so here, another little overshoot. Overshoots lead to breaks. We get two attempts to reach the other side, just like right here, except for this one has better legs, more clear legs. And so first entry long, second entry long, pushing on up, a little bit clear with that channel right there. And so, even on the other side, so you just want to be cautious of that. But it closes out. I'm just viewing it as these two legs here. I'm not going to look at it as a break of this green trend line expecting a new low. That's, we're not on that price action level yet. We just have these two clear legs down. You don't want to enter right into the trend line. We're finally getting something that's closing out right here on this higher low right after this measured move was met, continuing along with this channel right here. So this is a great looking long, and it's also kept within the high of the day. And so anyway, as soon as it pushes through the high of the day, past that swing, it starts to get choppy right here, which is not uncommon, which I'm not totally against entering into highs of days. It's just you need good context for it. Here, it's really just a higher low. After, it does have a strong trend, but it's just a higher low after an overshoot. So I wouldn't want to be pushing it too far out, which is why I liked it being within the high of the day. So anyway, after it pushes up here, it starts to go into this range. Pretty common to see that. So what could happen is we just break this channel again, and then we can look to make a new high. So we could get like a big picture failed second entry. It's just a possibility, and I'll go over a couple things that could happen. So if we get a two-legged break, we could look to make a new high, even if it doesn't have a complete two-legged break. Measured move. A lot of times what you'll get is just a couple legs out, and then a rush back above, and then you can look to get in on a smaller failed second entry that pushes back above the EMA. So I'll just draw it from an example here really quick. A lot of times what will happen is you'll have really good big picture context here. So if price made a two-legged break to here, this would be really good big picture context. It would be a big picture failed second entry. First entry short, second entry short, failure. But you're not always going to get a good setup there. And so what you could do if you don't get a good setup is wait on another failed second entry stemming from right here. So first entry short, second entry short, failure to go long with the overall big picture context as it moves up. You see what I'm saying? So if you don't get the big picture failed second entry, sometimes you can get along with a smaller entry right after. So that's the point I'm trying to make. Obviously, if we push it below here and then get two attempts higher, so like uptrend break, two attempts at a new high, but then it's holding below the EMA, then you want to look to get in on the failure and take a short. So we'll see what price does. This is gonna do it for the day. Yeah, thanks for watching. I'll see you all next time.